Hi there everybody, today we are going to be looking at how to create a flickering candle. Lovely kind of creative effect and can be used for all kinds of stuff to make your kind of presentation come alive or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So as normal, I've got a kind of blank screen, and as usual I am just going to remove the content, i.e. title and subtitle, which are automatically provided on PowerPoint. So, blank screen. Well, if I'm going to use a candle, first thing I probably want to have is a black background. So with my right mouse button selected, I've clicked format background, and of course I'm going to use a solid fill black. Now you don't need to have a black background necessarily, but flickering candles really kind of benefit from a dark background for obvious reasons. So black background to start with. I am then going to kind of create a candle. So I'm going to insert a shape, and I would hope that there is, and of course there is, a little cylinder which I'm going to create and add a little shape. So that's the basis of the candle. At the bottom, it normally has a little wick, I would assume, so adding another shape. So just a straightforward line here. I'm going to just zoom in a little and add a line, very small, hardly even, you can even see it, essentially. Probably want to make that a little bit bigger, so click my right button on it and format my shape. And again, you can use the tools at the bottom, at the top if you wish. I guess it's habit forming in terms of my right button, but I guess everybody is different. So I'm going to select a little dark grey wick. It doesn't really matter, you can go black if you wish, and I'm going to use my mouse button, my cursors, just to move it down and potentially the centre, so don't need to be too worried about it. So that's my candle. Maybe not blue, let's just go for a red, deep red candle for now, and because it's in 3D, I'm just gonna add a gradient to it. Not that kind of colour gradients. I want it to be linear, and I want it to be from left to right. And I want it to be, like I said, I want it to be red. So I'm going to select a deep red for the left hand side, and then I'm going to select a lighter red for the right hand side. Let me select. There we go. And again, I'm going to move that over to the right hand side as much as possible. Maybe actually move this kind of there. So something like that. Okay, I'm happy with that. I do not like the blue line. So I'm going to just change that to black. I don't know why blue, but certainly black is better for me. Right, okay, so there is my candle to start with. Now, candle obviously will need a flame, and the purpose of this video is about having a flickering candle. So I'm going to insert, hopefully, a flame. Now, if I remember correctly, a flame doesn't appear under flame, but it does appear under fire. So I've selected fire, and of course I've got two options, and I'm going to go for one that is kind of coloured in, and that should give me a black flame, which is very strange. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the colour to a kind of orange colour, and again you could probably tinker around with different versions of this in terms of flames, etc. But for now, really, I'm going to leave it as it is. We could add another one on top of it, slightly different colour, give it those kind of different kind of dimensions, but for now I'm going to stick with this one. So that is my flame. So I've got the candle, but it's not flickering. So this is the bit where I need to add some kind of flickery type of activity. So it's the flame itself that needs a bit of animation. So I'm going to use a combination of two here to make it look like it's flickering, So animations at the top, I'm going to add an animation. And again, I'm not really wiping in, wiping out, I'm just getting it to do stuff. So I'm going to get it to grow and shrink to start with. So it kind of has that effect, but it doesn't kind of then go back to its normal size, so it needs to. So under the animation page, I've got this graphic option, so double click here. And it takes 2 seconds, which is obviously far too long, so I want it to be nice and fast. And I also want to rewind when it's done. And I also want it to repeat constantly. So until the next slide, we'll say. So select OK, and hopefully we'll see this. Didn't really kind of demonstrate it brilliantly, but if I go to the slideshow, I'll go from current slide. Hopefully you'll see what happens here. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. A little bit like that. But of course, it's probably a bit bigger than I want it to be. So I'm going to click my right button on here and just go to effect options and see how much it grows. Well, it grows 150%. Well, I just kind of want it to kind of grow just a little bit, just so it does something. So let's try 120%. And press enter and press OK, and let's see if that does what it wants to do. Kind of, yes. All right, but it's very static. it's just in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. So I'm going to add another animation to this, just so it's just not just in and out like that. So on animations, again, similarly, I'm going to add an animation, but this time I'm going to get it to theta, which means it kind of rock left and right essentially, so a little bit like that. Similarly, I want it to kind of repeat, so select my effects options, and in timing here, I do want to kind of theta. I'm not too worried about the 1 second it being slightly different. That's absolutely fine actually, because it means it will kind of be inconsistent, which is what Flame will probably do, and it will repeat. So when I select OK, you'll see that kind of effect. So let's have a look about, hold on, before I kind of do, I want these to happen at the same time. So click the right button, start with previous, so they're all kind of happening at the same time, and let's see what that looks like. So here we go, and that's it, in and out, in and out, in and out. Very flickery. You might decide that actually that in and out is probably too much, probably too fast. Probably is. So I'm going to just slow that down a little bit to 1 second, and let's just see that is there any other options on here. Actually, do you know what? I want it to auto reverse rather than rewind when playing, because I want it to kind of go back. That's better, isn't it? So let's have a look now what that looks like. So here we go. So flickering in, flickering out. Yeah, like that a lot. All right. It may be probably bigger than it needs to be. So do you know what? I'm just going to change this one more to the effect so it's not quite as big. And again, this is a little bit of trial and error, as you've noticed, to see what is the right way to kind of get your desired effect. So what I've got is kind of making it a little bit bigger and smaller, what Flame does, but I've also got it kind of theta, kind of left and right, because again, it doesn't just kind of stay straight. So it has that kind of behavior. There we go. So it's a little bit more subtle, but does exactly kind of what it wants to do. So that is a flickering candle. However, what I like to do is a candle doesn't kind of emanate and just kind of flicker. It creates a bit of a glow, doesn't it? So I want to add a little bit behind this, which kind of creates that glow. So I'm going to insert a glow. Tends to be circular around the back, you would imagine. So let's go for an oval tool, and I'm going to create a circle, which kind of goes around it like so, and again, depending on how much glow you want to give it, make it be a little bit bigger. Let's go for that, and of course I'm going to change what that looks like. So let's format the shape. We do not want a line on the outside, you know, the line doesn't quite look like that. We do want it to be at the back, but I'll come to that in a second. So I'm going to now fill the gradient of this to how I want it to look. So on the edges, I want it to be black because I want it to kind of fade away. But I also want the centre to be kind of glowing. So I need a type of shading to be radial, i.e. it goes in a circle. And I want it to go from the direction from the centre. You can't really see it particularly well because of the colours, but it'll, when I change the colours, you'll see. So at the moment, at the centre, I want it to be colourful. I want it to be bright. It needs to be glowing. Woo! That it is glowing. And then on the outside, I want it to be black. Now I might change that in a little bit because it might not fade away. So that's probably too much of a glow. So let's kind of reduce the glow from the centre to something a little bit like that. You'll notice it looks very circular on the outside. So what I want to do is just going to bring that in a little bit so it's less, so you can kind of fade away. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 100% transparency to the end because actually what I wanted to do is fade into the actual background of the black background I've actually got, which has clearly made it smaller. So I'm just going to move it out a little bit further. And again, just because it has that kind of transparency, I just want to avoid it where you can see the circle, just kind of the edge of the circle just showing here. Don't really want that, so just going to bring it in just a little bit, just so I don't see that circular edge. You know, you won't see the edge of a glow, would you? And it just kind of glows. So that looks pretty good, but of course it's right in front of the candle. So I'll click my right button on the shape, and I'm going to send it to the back, kind of behind it, to kind of provide that glow, which is really, really good. I like it a lot. I suppose the only thing is here is that when I go to the slideshow and I kind of select it, you'll notice that again I can see the circle a little bit. I know you can see that the edge of it, so I'll probably want to change that a little bit. But when I kind of use the animation, well, the flame goes, but the glow remains the same. So probably need a little bit of animation. So I'm just going to reduce the size of this a little bit. I'm going to add an extra black at the end, just so that it's really, I want to get rid of the transparency, so it really disappears. So I'm just going to change the transparency so it disappears. Oh, do you know what might be easy if I type it? So it's a 0. So let's see if that works. And that glow looks quite big, so I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller. Not too small. Right, so I'm going to add some animation to my glow. So basically it'll kind of just go bigger and smaller. So essentially I'm going to use a similar one that I used previously, essentially. So I just want to probably copy and paste, actually. So if I go to my animation pane, and yeah, I've got those already. So if I select this, and I go to animation painter, and then I select the background, it should do the same, which looks good to me. Of course I want it to start with the previous, so I select my right mouse button and start with previous, and let's just see now what happens when I do that current slide. So hopefully my flame and my background, so when I start, should go together. So as my flame grows, the kind of animation kind of goes with it. What a brilliant, lovely little flame teetering away. So that, and I've noticed the border is, I can't really see the border anymore, it's kind of gone, which is the effect I was trying to get. So there you have a teetering flaming candle, and of course, as always, the resource file is available for you. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.